this comment about fatigue and depression just being a symptom of life, I think there's so much that we could do so much better, especially with the knowledge that we have now that maybe wasn't as prevalent 10, 15, 20 years ago. But especially some of the really big studies that have come out regarding mental health disorders, we need to do better. There was a big study that came out of New Zealand that followed up a study that came out of Australia, that followed up a study that came out of the twin study from the UK on the health of the gut, nutrition, and mental health disorders. And the one in the UK looked at all types of mental health disorders, including depression. The one out of Australia looked at depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And the one out of New Zealand focused on schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. I'm not going to link them here. You can look them up. The twin study is from, I think it's Kingston University. It's the largest twin study in the world. And it has, I think, 7,200 participants, 3,600 sets of identical twins. So what they were looking at is it genetic or is it the environment or the terrain? And in that study, they even look at what happens with obesity in one identical twin versus non-obesity in the other identical twin. So there's a lot of information out of that study. It's a really fascinating read if you have time to sit down and read thousands of pages of research. But here's the thing. Depression and fatigue are a symbol that the body is out of balance. There are people who would be more genetically predisposed to having something like bipolar disorder, depression, and schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder. But they have also shown that all of those things can be impacted by the environment. And what they proved in all of their studies was that when we looked at nutritional factors compared to medications, the nutritional factors won out. Specifically, they looked at supplementation of high doses of omega-3s, high doses of vegetables, and adequate protein. They also looked at health of the gut and whether or not there was a balance in the microbiota in the gut. And that played a role in mental health. The other things we know genetically that play a role in fatigue and depression are your methylation status. Can you methylate? And then can you detox? And a lot of people will say detoxification is the liver's job. It does its job all the time. You don't need to support it. But genetically, there are people who don't. I mean, I'm a person who, there are genes that just have they are there or they aren't, insertions or deletions. If they're a deletion, it means that your body struggles with that pathway. Out of 6 genes that you can impact regarding detoxification, I have a bad allele on 1 and a deletion on 2. So 3 of the 6 that I can impact through my environment mean that I don't detox well, which means that I do need to support my liver. And I think a lot of people get confused because there's so much information being put out, and so much of it, even in functional medicine, health and wellness, there's a psychiatrist who hates when I talk about these studies about nutritional status and bipolar and schizophrenia, who's attacked me on this app. She's reported my account. I think she reported me to my state board. But the fact is, genetically, each individual is different. And then we add the environment on top of that. And we have to start looking at the factors that help people. The other thing that happens is that when we apply too much stress to the body, the constant release of cortisol causes fatigue, muscle breakdown, and breakdown of some of the important pathways, neural pathways in the brain. And that can lead to depression. It can lead to fatigue. Obviously, if your body's breaking down your muscle tissue, you're going to be fatigued. And I think we have to stop normalizing handing someone a pill and start normalizing having a conversation about nutrition, having people keep a food journal, having people understand what their gut is doing, and that if they're not having a bowel movement every day, that yes, they are in a toxic state, and having people realize that they have control. There are things that you can look at in your blood work that will tell you your methylation status. There are numbers that you can look at in your blood work that will tell you if your liver is working to its optimal or if it's struggling. Some of those numbers will also tell you what your vitamin and mineral status is. If you're not having a healthy bowel movement every day, at least one, if you go look up the Bristol, B as in boy, R, I, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, O, L, stool chart, and you can't say, my bowel movements look like these healthy ones, and I have one every day, fatigue and depression are imminent for you. I don't know why we expect an infant to have 7 to 10 dirty diapers a day, but we think it's okay as adults to not have a bowel movement for multiple days in a row. I don't know when we learned that, but it's not okay. The link between your gut and your brain is so important, because 95% of your serotonin and 50% of your dopamine are produced in the gut. One is your I can maintain happiness, and one is your I can feel happy in a moment. Something can make me laugh. Something can bring me joy for a brief moment. And you need both of them. Fatigue and depression are a symbol that something else in the body is out of balance. And that can be as simple as vitamin D. But if the vitamin D is out of balance, why? Why can't you absorb it from your food? Why can't you absorb it from a supplement? It's because your gut's not working.